because a lot of my research, my doctorate and the work in the years since that has been in communities of practice development, internet-mediated communities of practice, which took me into gaming for very strange reasons. And I've consulted with a project called Quest Atlantis in Arizona State University and Indiana University over the last 10 years. But the gamification that I'm going to talk about is the coming together of those two passions of mine, communities of practice and developing strong professional communities, and game design. Do I have the remote? So I want to point out here that I'm not talking about a game. We've heard a lot about game design at the moment, and I'm talking about something a little different. And in talking with Gabe on Monday, we were discussing what's the difference between game design and gamification. And, you know, purist game designers treat gamification as the poor sick cousin to their program. And interestingly, I liked the way Gabe put it, that gamification draws from a very broad pool of disciplines. So game design is part of it, but so is motivational theory, so is learning theory, so is and so on. You know, knowledge management, systems thinking, a whole lot of other disciplines are drawn in if you're doing gamification in an effective way. So I want to say first up, I'm not talking about game design. So I'm talking about something related, but not exactly game design. So I'm talking about applying gameful experiences within a professional community. And we don't want the people in our community to just be passive observers of the activity. And it's been historically true that teachers in communities, and particularly online communities, come in, snatch the resources they want and leave. So those of you who come from education would nod at that. It's very true. Teachers are very in the moment, needing what they need for their class today or this week. And what we're trying to do is push that envelope in the plain community in relation to the use of quality pedagogy surrounding technology. And so we want people to participate. And so we're drawing on gamification ideas to encourage people to become active members and engaged in their community. So we're starting from the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. We want them to be seen as heroes, taking on heroic activity, moving out from the places they know in the safe pedagogy they might have been using, and testing out and being experimental at new ideas, facing a lot of challenges. And the hero's journey is a meme used in lots of game design, in epics like Star Wars and others. And there's some good literature surrounding education as a heroic journey. So that's what we wanted to do. So we made our first level of our game Hero. So you enter as a hero. You are a hero. And in today's climate, if you're working in a school teaching tomorrow's kids, you are a hero. Okay, so the hero's journey is underlying our whole development of our 8-level gamification of the community activity. And so I won't go into that. You can look up all of that, and I just described basically what that is, moving out from the ordinary where you are into challenges. But knowing along the way or learning along the way, this is not achievable by yourself. You're going to need allies. You're going to need weapons. You're going to need to face challenges to build your esteem and your powers. So we're going to talk today about the game level of playing. And I want to focus on this picture for a number of different reasons. And yes, we all laugh because it's a picture that makes you smile, makes you laugh. But I want to redress some of the ageist crap I've heard around game design, about teaching, about activity, innovation, imagination. There's research going on at the moment, and some of my research points to a similar finding, that it doesn't matter how old the teacher is, how innovative they are, number one. But number two, there's a sweet spot in there. Young teachers are not change agents. Their job when they hit a school is to fit in. Their job is not to change the system. And it takes them quite a time to develop the practice to a mature level where they will be change agents. And research out of the Cooney Centre in the United States suggests that's like 9 years of teaching. Now, the other factor that's really important in the research I've done and surveys we've run recently is that many of the people we find coming to game-based learning, coming to use innovative ICT, coming into virtual worlds, are second career educators. So they've been somewhere else, accountancy, ran their own business, whatever, and they've come, trained as a teacher and moved into teaching. And we don't have findings for that at the moment. We're doing further discussions and focus groups and interviews to find out what is it about these people who come to this career the second time that makes them greater risk takers or more able to take on innovation. So interesting stuff surrounding age, professional level or professional experience and innovation. Okay, when I say it's a balancing act of balancing all of these things to build a community of practice. So we want a strong community of practice, and it has to mesh all of these different objectives. So we've got individual to network. We want to build the individual identity of each of our participants, and we opened in May as a state New South Wales-based program, and then launched in October. And Stan just waved there. Stan's one of my colleagues working with Virtual Worlds in Plane. And in October we launched as a national project. It's a DEWA project, so part of the digital education revolution. And so we're wanting to build individual and network identity. We want people to see themselves as part of this community, both individually and collectively. Building extrinsic rewards in balance with intrinsic rewards. We want to, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec, we want to have it be serious. So we want people to take on serious practice in their classroom, but we want that engagement in the community to be fun. We want to give them due credit for existing practice, but we want them to look further towards innovation. We want to give accreditation and recognition. And so currently, Plane activity is accredited with the New South Wales Institute for Teachers, and we're looking for national accreditation down the track now that we've attained that. So the activity in this community and in this game layer is giving teachers credit towards their professional status outside the community, but we want the game itself to give them recognition in the community. We're looking to balance out supporting novice learners or novice educators with expert educators. And the problem with a lot of expert educators, they're treated as there's nowhere for them to go to learn, nowhere for them to take their career further. Plenty of programs open up for novices and want the experts to come in, but purely to support the novices. And we don't want to do that. We want to give everybody a chance to learn. We're looking at moving teachers from having this consumer attitude that I mentioned earlier to becoming producers, and that they take on the leadership of the community. So we want to phase ourselves out and have this community managed by classroom practitioners, the experts in the classroom. And we want to honour lurking as a way of learning and leading as a way of learning. So, there's a lot of disparaging comments about people who lurk in community, but my 15 years work in communities of practice tells me speakers need listeners, writers need readers. So lurking still needs to be honoured in the program. So what we're trying to develop is a game where the game motivation will be high entering into the system, but over time the community itself will take over as the major motivator in the program. So we don't see the game as being wholly sustaining. We want the community engagement to take over. So the basis of the game is 8 levels. So the first 4 levels, Hero to Pathfinder, are based around activity in the New South Wales Institute levels. And then the next, Ninja to Maven, are based around the higher levels of professional accomplishment and professional leadership in the New South Wales Institute. And who wouldn't want to be a ninja teacher, honestly? It's what they all aspire to. When we asked teachers, ninja had to be included as a level. Everyone wants to be a ninja at something. So this is quite a serious mix of levels and game activity to help teachers move through and focus in on accredited learning. So it covers a whole lot of things. We are moving from, at the lower levels, automated rewards. So our first level, all you need to do is explore the space. What we want people to do is come in and click around, look at all of what's on the offer. Not just go to the resource space and grab the resource and run, as I said teachers are wont to do, but to look around and see what's offering in leadership, in Ask an Expert, in the virtual world, in our game of Leonian, which teaches game-based learning. So we want them to go in and explore all of those issues. As we move up in the levels, it gets less and less automated, and leadership gift awards and rewards to participants for their activity. So it becomes more and more a community reward, not an automated reward in the system. We use Badgeville. For those, any of you who work in gamification, is our game engine. And you can see here some of the interface that we use. You can see your level, and you can see where you're currently at, the level behind you and above, what you need to do to reach the next level. And this is, you can see in the background a page here that we had. We actually ran a competition at our recent Festival of Learning. We formed everyone into teams as fictitious airlines. And so the crew of their airline had to compete over the 2 days of the conference to complete a mission together. So this is our basic interface. And you can see the kinds of activities. Adding a task to your learning plan, adding a page to your portfolio, joining a group. This is a lower level activity. This is to get you through to Wayfarer from Hero. At a higher level, those sorts of things are leading a boot camp in the virtual world, hosting an action research project on Action Research Island in the virtual world, or managing a Teach Meet program or a Lead Meet program in our online meeting system, to give an example or two. So, 5 minutes, thank you. So yes, there's competition and XP. So we do see some of the elements that you all know as games, as elements of game. And as you can see here, our leaderboard. But our leaderboard shows the last 30 days, not all-time scores, because we have learnt a few lessons there about some of the people who really get in and engage in the system. And we had a character in our system, fantastic, but given us fantastic feedback on our early time, but he was out of work at the time and home, and I think he was just plugged into playing constantly, going through doing activities and levelling up to a point where he really needed the community to support him. He couldn't do it individually. But he's got a job now, so he's less engaged in the community at the moment, and his pattern has dropped back a little bit. But these people here are classroom teachers. These are experts in the classroom. And their comments back to us is, we didn't realise how competitive we were until we got into this space, and we really love it. And we miss out on giving them a badge for attending an event or for leading something, we hear about it straight away. We have status in the community, so this is your current level. And you can see here we're working on making our accredited hours show up in our system, but we haven't finished that. What badges you've just unlocked, and the missions you've completed through the system. I should say, and I'll use it with this slide, where are we going now? Well, we're looking at Mozilla Open Badge, so we can take the levels of our system out, and teachers will be able to put those on their blog, their CV, other spaces. Expanding our social gifting so that the community can create rewards and offer those as atta girls or plus ones to each other. The integration of the spending of our currency, because we do have a points currency, an XP currency, and we want to look at how people can use those. Do we want them to be able to spend those points at some stage? We've designed the layers of the game to level 4, and now we're building the rest of the level behaviours with our community. So we're running focus groups and meetings, getting our teachers to come in and tell us where they'd like to go. What sort of activity would their community like to see, or what sort of activity does their community value that should be at the top of that tree? You know, what should a ninja teacher really be able to do? And we want the community to design that, not even though we're part of the community, we're all educators, but we want them to help us create that. We're focusing on groups in the game layer and how we can employ those better. And then the bottom line for us is research, 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 because we feel we're at a cutting edge. There isn't a lot ahead of us in education doing this, particularly in communities of practice. And we want to really understand what it is, what tiger we've got by the tail. So that's me, and that's plain. It's at the moment it's national, Australia national. So any teacher, pre-service teacher, so it's pre-service, practicing teacher, tertiary educator, anyone virtually who has a .edu email address would be able to be part of our program.
The reason I was asking, if you sort of see something like, one of the better examples is something like Facebook, which is just in a way that you kind of need to get involved to create links and move in the community.
We're trying not to build another silo. So we try to build in permeability so that we're pulling Facebook, Twitter, everything in. We're feeding out from our space as well. If you're going to build another community that is locked down, teachers aren't going to join it. It has to have that permeability. So we feed off Facebook. We have a Facebook group. We have a YouTube channel. We have all of those things. We try to catch our educators where they are. The difference we have is their engagement in this space is counting to their accredited practice. So it's part of their continuing education, and they will be getting government accredited status for their work in the community. Yeah.
I was wondering, is there a way to test whether the skills that they need to be acquired is being tested, or is there a way to test? Or is it just the badges that tell that those people have reached that level of...
Well, in the way the National New South Wales Institute levels go, people have to evidence what they've done, and our system does the same. So for instance, if it asks you to build, for instance for our Festival of Learning, to get credit for your time at the festival, you had to build a page in your portfolio, and you were given a framework for what had to be included in that page, your reflection on the three greatest things you learnt, a list of resources you were going to go away and use at your school. So we had a framework for how they would evidence. That then is put up, they post it, and a member of the community has to go in and look at that and rate it. And so the evidence is not good enough that they just created evidence, it has to be evaluated and assessed. So at those higher levels particularly, we're very scrupulous about that, because it is credit for what they're doing.
Oh yeah, but are there any plans to go international with this?
Yes, we'd like to. The issue is because this was a Digital Education Revolution project, the funding comes to a close in the start of 2013, and we're now working with Deloitte to look at a business case or talking up our program where we can to see if we can find further funding to take it forward. So to go international, we would have to, have secure funds. I don't think so, because as I said, our aim is that initially the game is the big motivator. Gets you in, gets you doing things, gets you out of your comfort zone to do a few things you might not have done. What we hope is, and the design is, that the actual community of practice and the value of the community of practice will take over as the motivator to your activity. So that when you see the value in leading an experience and you get the kudos from that, or it adds to your profile and your identity as a teacher, that will be the motivator. So that's why we need to design those higher levels with our educators, not for them.
Thank you. Bronwyn's available at the next